everyone, it's Brittany and welcome back to Brittany Unplugged. And as you can tell by the title of this video, we're going to be switching it up a little bit today. I basically went on my Instagram and I asked you guys for your different dilemmas, what's currently bothering you, and different scenarios that you find yourself in. So I have a couple of them here and then we're going to go through them bit by bit, and then I'm going to advise you to the best of my ability, and hopefully it will help you in the long run. Maybe there's a number of people who maybe didn't send in their dilemmas that could be going through the exact same thing. So hopefully I can help you all today. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So I have some of the dilemmas written down here, but I'm going to leave some on the screen somewhere. So the first dilemma is, I fail to still entitle myself as the baddie I am because I'm very insecure about my looks and my body. Now, this is definitely something that I can relate to personally. I mean, I definitely struggled with this particular topic about being very, very insecure at the start of my teenagehood, at the start of high school, because I just really wasn't happy with myself. But one thing I can tell you about, especially about gaining self-confidence and especially coming out of being a very insecure person and really finding yourself and loving yourself again, is that it all starts within your mind, and it really starts with your mindset in general. You need to first believe that you are a baddie. You need to believe that you're the best person possible, and you need to believe that you do have a value when you're on this earth. And it's easier said than done. So the practical steps you can take in order to get to that mindset is, you need to be in touch with your skills. What are you good at? Are you good at dancing? Are you good at singing? Can you cook? Can you do all of those things that make you happy? Are you surrounded by energy that makes you feel a lot better about yourself, or are you surrounded by energy that continues to let you doubt yourself this way? Because a lot of the times when we're not very sure of ourselves, it's almost like we let our insecurities kind of control us, and they control our whole body, and it really ends up affecting you in the long run. So you need to get in touch with yourself and do self-introspection, even if it means that you take a detox from social media and you just need to unplug from everything and kind of find yourself again. In that detox, like a social media detox, you need to make sure you're doing useful things that make you happy. You could go for a walk, you could have a self-care day, I don't know, wear a face mask, you could do your makeup, you could take a nice hot shower or stuff like that, or you can watch a movie, watch something on Netflix that makes you feel happy. And always remember that the only person that can validate you is yourself, validate you to the fullest. Also, don't find yourself seeking validation from other people, because they can only validate you to an extent, because they don't know you fully. And I know as human beings, we may not know ourselves to the fullest, because we're ever changing, we're ever evolving, we're always in different circumstances, different environments and stuff. But you know yourself better than anybody else knows you, so don't find yourself seeking validation from other people. In regards to you not liking your body, that is something that a lot of people face, and I feel like a lot of people tend to find themselves in situations where they really just aren't happy with their outward and the inward appearance. So if you find that you're not happy with how you look on the outside, instead of thinking, oh no, I need to change this about myself, I need to change this about myself, think, okay, how can I better myself? Let's say if you feel like maybe you've gained a bit of weight and you want to get back to shape. Say, should I exercise more? Should I do this? Maybe I should do squats more. Think about how you can better yourself. Don't think in the mindset of someone who wants to change themselves, because ultimately at the end of the day, you are unique and your uniqueness makes you you. So think about the things that you could do in order to make yourself look better. Think about all of the other things, all of the other activities you can do that can make you feel better about yourself, because at the end of the day, there's a reason why you're on this earth. There's a reason, there's a purpose that you have to fulfill, and you always need to remember, what is your purpose? What is my purpose? And you can't go looking for that purpose in other people. You need to make sure that you do a lot of validation for yourself, self-validation. You need to really take time to really know and understand your worth, because you do have a lot of worth, and don't ever think otherwise. Now, the second dilemma is, my anxiety makes me feel as if I'm not good enough for my boyfriend, and I'm scared I'll self-sabotage. Now, I think before you look at your boyfriend, before you look at anybody else around you regarding this, it all starts with you. The driving force as to why you are feeling this way is because your anxiety is allowing you to feel that way. A lot of the times, anxiety tends to overtake the whole body, and it affects the way you think, the way you behave, the way you do things, the way you react to certain situations. You end up thinking, okay, am I annoying this person? Am I doing too much? Should I hold back? Should I, do much more? Should I put more energy? Should I put effort? Am I being extra about it? Like, do people even like me? And anxiety makes you ask a lot of different questions that you fail to answer because your emotions are on a high and everything's just so quick around you and you have no time to actually sit down and think. So the first thing you need to do is you need to manage your anxiety. You could do breathing exercises, listening to very peaceful music. Meditation helps for some people. A lot of things. You need to find very peaceful things that will help you calm yourself down so that you can think clearly, so that you'll know, okay, am I good enough for him? Is this relationship even working for me and stuff? But if you find that you're in a situation where your boyfriend is making you feel like you're not good enough for the relationship, so that's triggering your anxiety, you need to remove yourself from that situation. Because if you allow yourself to be in a situation where you honestly have to question your worth and your value in that relationship, then that relationship isn't for you. Because when you're in a relationship, it's both energies putting an effort to make each other feel loved. You're supposed to make each other feel loved in that relationship. So if your partner is making you feel as if you're not good enough for them, you need to remove yourself from that situation before it damages you in the long run, before you start thinking that you're not good enough for anyone, because then it can affect your whole outlook in the further relationships to come, not even just your romantic relationships, but in your friendships and stuff, because people don't realize the effect that another person can have on you, especially if they're either narcissistic or they're toxic towards you. So if your partner is the one that's making your anxiety go on a high, you need to remove yourself from that situation. And it's harder to do than actually me saying, okay, you need to remove yourself. It's harder, especially if there's feelings involved. But sometimes you really need to sacrifice in order to protect your peace, because your peace is the most important thing in order for you to feel better about yourself. But if it's just a situation where it's an internal thing, I would say you should manage your anxiety first. Once your anxiety is managed, it gives you time to properly think and to properly reflect, and then you see how you can act from there. And another thing is you need to make sure that you don't focus too much on the fears of what can happen in a relationship. When you enter a relationship, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You're taking a leap of faith because you care about the person. So if you focus on the things that you're scared of, eventually it's going to manifest through your actions, because then you'll be afraid to actually put your all into something because you're afraid that you're going to self-sabotage. You already have the mindset that, okay, no, I'm going to self-sabotage, I'm going to ruin everything and stuff like that, because since you've already told yourself that, it begins to manifest itself. So make sure that you don't focus on the fears a lot, rather focus on the good parts of the relationship. Of course, relationships have their ups and downs, but if you dwell too much on the negative things that come with it, if you dwell on things that you haven't even done yet, but you're just afraid that you will do, then eventually it's going to manifest itself. So before you allow it to manifest itself, you need to sit down and manage everything and just focus on the most important thing, and that is making the relationship work. Even if it means that you have arguments with your partner, if it means that you have little disagreements or you get annoyed with each other, that is totally normal in a relationship. But don't focus on the things that you think you will do and you haven't yet done them, because it will really affect the relationship in the long run as well. Now, the third dilemma is jealousy and being jealous. Now, jealousy is wanting something that someone else has, but you don't have it for yourself. And I feel like at some point we've all experienced a little bit of jealousy, or if not, you may not have been on the receiving end of it. You may have been the person who was jealous. And a lot of the times, jealousy can kind of drive you to resent the person who you are jealous of, even if it's a friend, if it's a partner, if it's your parents, if it's your brothers or sisters. It can really drive you to resent the person without you even realizing that you're beginning to resent them, because you're focusing on what you don't have and you're looking at what the next person has. When you're jealous of someone, or you're jealous of some kind of circumstance, you lose sight of the things that you have, and you forget to be grateful for the things that you already have, because you're so focused on what you don't have and what the next person has. But a lot of the times you may be focusing on what the next person has, but they may not even be focusing on you. But then you're wasting your energy thinking about, what does this person have, what does this person have? But you need to remember that the right thing is going to come for you. But you need to remember that the right thing is going to come your way. And as much as a lot of you have probably heard that saying, it really is going to come your way. The right thing is coming to you. So you don't need to stress about what the next person has, because what they have is the right thing for them. But because it appears to be so magnificent and appears to be so majestic, and you want that thing, you forget that maybe that thing is good for them, and they probably are striving to do better, and they're trying to better themselves with that thing. With the right thing coming to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that that thing that's on your way, or that person that's on your way, is going to be better than the next person that you're jealous of. It just means that it's the thing that's best for you, rather than what's better for anybody else. Because we're all on different paths. We all have different visions. So if you find that you may be jealous, you need to focus on the things that you do have. And it may be hard because you're always like, I want this, I want this, I want that. But it takes patience. You need to be patient with the things that are coming your way. There's a reason why you don't have it now, but you will eventually get it later. You'll get something much better later on. So don't focus on the next person. Don't focus on, oh my gosh, what does she have? What does he have? Why don't I have that? Why don't I have this? Because you develop a very negative mindset. And when you're negative, it shows through your actions, and people don't really want to deal with a negative person because they'll know that all you have is negative energy. And at this point in time, after everything that this world has experienced, people can't take more negative energy. So don't let how you feel towards another person, the envy you feel for them, manifest through your actions, because people won't want to associate themselves with you because they'll know that, you know what, you'll just be talking about the next person. You just want what this person has, and eventually they're going to realize that maybe you are a friend that's probably jealous, and they'll eventually see. With time, you may not even realize that your friend is jealous, but then you begin to pick up the different traits that they have, and you're like, that's a red flag. So you need to make sure that you don't allow your jealousy, and you don't allow jealousy as a whole to really affect your personality and the way other people see you. So if you find that you're in a situation that you are a jealous person, or if you're dealing with jealousy, you need to focus on the things you have. And if you're on the receiving end of that jealousy, then continue doing you and continue working for what's coming for you. And people, it's very hard to deal with it, especially if it's a friend, especially if it's like a colleague, if it's someone important to you. But then some things are never easy, and you just have to sacrifice, and you need to be tough on yourself and say, you know what, I need to focus on what's coming for me, what's aligned with my vision, rather than focusing on what the next person thinks of me. Now, the fourth dilemma is everything. I feel like I'm too fragile now. Now, I feel like when you're fragile, you're in a place where you're very, very vulnerable to a lot of things, and you become very emotional about a lot of things. And a lot of the times, maybe you fail to express that emotion, or you may take it out on other people. You can snap on them and stuff like that. It really depends on the kind of personality that you are. But one thing I can say is, if you find that you're indulging too much in how fragile you are, and it's affecting your personality and it's affecting your relationships with people, you need to just take a step back, and you need to think about what is the source of this feeling? Why am I beginning to feel that way? Because at the end of the day, every emotion has a source. There's a reason why you started feeling that way in the first place. Maybe you could be angry, and then that anger turns into disappointment. That disappointment turns into depression. But then at the end of the day, there is a source to that feeling. There is a source of where that depression came from. It started when you got angry. So you need to take a step back, and you need to think about what caused you to feel that way in the first place. Because a lot of the times when you're already in that fragile state, everything makes you feel vulnerable. Everything makes you feel disappointed. Everything makes you feel sad. So you sometimes may fail to identify, okay, what is making me feel this way? But when you're calm and you properly sit down and you think about, where did this start? How did this all start? Then you can kind of pinpoint how you can either fix the issue or move on from it as well. Now, when you indulge, if you're indulging in how fragile you are, then you begin to play the victim. So you can slowly become the victim in different circumstances if you don't deal with it. If you don't deal with it at an early stage, then you'll pull out the victim card every single time. And one thing that you can never always be is, you can never always play the victim, because sometimes you may be wrong in certain instances, but then you use how fragile you are as an excuse to kind of cover up your emotions, or as an excuse to kind of make sure that you continuously be the victim in a case that maybe you are the cause of. So make sure that you find the source of what caused you to feel that way in the first place. You can just pinpoint whereabouts you think things started going downhill for you. And you may think that, okay, no, that's very difficult to do. But then if you sit down and you really think about, okay, where did things actually go wrong? Then it gives you a better view, a clearer vision on how you can deal with that situation as it is. And once again, the one way you can get out of this situation is if you come in touch with yourself again by finding your strengths, by finding the things that you like, finding the things that you don't like, doing things that are peaceful, doing things that really bring so much serenity to you and kind of make you feel like wholesome again. Because when you're fragile, sometimes you can feel broken, you can feel like pieces of you are gone, and you feel very disoriented. So you need to do the things that kind of bring you back to yourself and keep you in touch with yourself, and things that help you to remember why you are the way that you are. For example, for me, I love music, I love singing, I love everything about music. So when I listen to, if I'm in like a dark place, let's say if school is stressing me out and I listen to music, it kind of makes me remember that, okay, music is something that makes me be creative. It helps me to bring out the best in myself. It helps me bring out like my most creative side of myself. So kind of when you do something that you love, it brings you back to why you are the way that you are, why your personality is the way that it is. And you realize that thing that you love doing contributes as to why you are that way. So also find things that you like to do, even if it's something as simple as liking movies, even if it's something as simple as drawing, something very, very simple. It can really go a long way if you really think about, okay, this is what I love. So I'm going to make sure that I indulge in this rather than focus on my weakness, rather than focusing on my brokenness. Because when you focus too much on that, you end up spending too much energy on how broken you are to the point where you forget about all the other aspects that make you feel wholesome again. So that would be my advice if you're in a state where you feel very, very fragile and things are affecting you. And this brings me to the fifth dilemma, which is my toxic ex. Now, with this situation, it can be managed in a very simple way, but then it's actually very hard to get to that point, because the way you can manage your toxic ex in this circumstance is you need to remember that, okay, your toxic means poisonous, right? So clearly they're causing some form of havoc in your life. One thing you need to do is you need to set boundaries, and you need to show them that they cannot have access to you. Because if you continuously allow them to have access to you, then you're allowing the cycle of toxicity to keep on going. It becomes a game, because they know that they can always come back to you and they can cause problems, and then they can come out of that and they can come back to you, and they come out, come back to you, and come out. They keep doing it, and they keep on juggling you, and you feel like you're a toy that's being used in some form of game, but then they're actually finding it fun. They don't even realize that like it's really affecting you, because you haven't yet communicated that, look, what you're doing isn't okay. And it's harder to manage, especially if there's feelings involved. If you once felt something for that person, don't disregard the fact that you guys had something there. Don't disregard the fact that there was once a point when things were okay in your relationship. Don't disregard that, because then it builds up unnecessary hatred in you if you try to disregard the person and act like, they were never important to you at some point. Except the fact that yes, you're with this person, but now this person is moving different. But you are also in charge of the amount of access that someone has to you as well. You need to communicate from the start that you cannot have this level of access to me, because then it's going to do damage to you if you continuously allow this person to have some form of control in your life, because it is your life. It is your life at the end of the day. And it's hard. Confrontation is hard. I myself am not a very confrontational person, but when it needs to be done, it will be done. If you want to protect your peace, and if you want to protect your mental state, your mental health, you need to by all means communicate that, look, you're setting boundaries and he can't talk to you and stuff like that. If in another case, you can also maybe block them, you can mute them, you can do a number of things that can really show them that, look, you can't have access to me at this point in my life, because it's only doing damage to you. So the best thing to do is first acknowledge the fact that, okay, there was once something there, but now they're moving different, and you need to communicate that they can't have access to you. Because if you don't communicate it, then they're going to think that what they're doing is fine, and you continuously allow someone else to overstep your boundary when that is not okay. Now, the next few dilemmas all fall under the topic of school, and some of them are school, I feel like a failure, the stress of the leaving cert. For those of you who don't know what the leaving cert is a set of exams that you write at the end of high school, and they're pretty big exams that determine your course for university and which university you go to as well. So they're a really big deal, and they're somewhat equivalent to A-levels as well. They're actually equivalent to that. And my leaving cert is next year, and I'm stressing out, and results, because I know there are a number of people who have results coming up very soon. Now, school is one thing that knows how to kick people in the behind. It has definitely kicked me in the behind many times because of the stress, the workload, the pressure to do well and to always one up myself and stuff like that. There is so much pressure that comes with school. But one thing you need to know, you need to figure out the way that you study, you need to figure out the way that you manage your stress, and you need to do, number one, for me, I know when I'm stressed out, I'll listen to music, I'll say a prayer, I'll do something that calms me down, because if I can't work under a lot of stress. Of course, I'll have to work under pressure, because in an exam, there's a lot of pressure to finish your exam within a certain time limit. But you need to know the things that can calm you down so that you can work properly. You can set goals for yourself. Say, okay, I want to get this set of results, or even if it means in the next, like for example, let's say you want to be rich and famous, right? And then there's a car that you, or even you may, it doesn't have to be you getting rich, for example. It can be maybe there's a particular car that you want, but you know you have to work really, really hard to get that car for yourself. You can even have a picture of it saved on Instagram or something, and then think, okay, if I don't work hard, I'm not going to get this car. And that should be something that motivates you. You'll be surprised. The strangest things can motivate people. But then as long as it's bettering you and it's really pushing you to do better, then that is the most important thing. And you also need to remember that when you're entering an exam year, the first thing you need to do is accept the fact that you are going to write those exams at the end of the year. And then you need to figure out, okay, what is the best study plan? How am I going to manage my stress? And remember that, okay, I need to accept the fact that things are going to get stressful at some point. It's going to hit me that I'm writing exams at the end of the year. Make sure that you don't leave things to last minute. I know procrastination is really the thief of time, and I'm so guilty of procrastination. I'm pretty sure many people are guilty of this because, just the thought of doing so much work and stuff like that and actually starting that work is just a whole other story. But you need to know that you can't, if you know that maybe working under pressure doesn't work for you, if you know that, okay, maybe procrastinating isn't the best thing, stop the bad habits at the start before it's too late, so that you don't wait until just before the exam that, okay, I shouldn't be procrastinating when you've got like a chunk of the syllabus that you're supposed to like cover. So make sure that you kind of pace yourself and you don't start everything at once. Make sure that you don't allow yourself to burn out. And a lot of the times, what can also cause a lot of pressure is maybe the opinions of your parents, the opinions of your teachers and stuff like that. And a lot of the times that can really affect a lot of people's confidence in their schoolwork and stuff like that. But as long as you pace yourself to do the best that you can do, study as hard as you can. And I know that the pressure of hearing what your family has to say about your results and stuff like that can really get to you, which is so understandable. But you also need to remind yourself that it is just for a season. And you need to also remember that your results, a lot of times it is really repeated that your results really do not define you. And a lot of the times there's just so much pressure to do well and get these amazing results because it's been so normalized that your results are everything. When in actual reality, your results are not a reflection of who you are, because you may be creative instead of academic. You may be academic instead of sporty, and vice versa. It can be a whole number of things that you find your strengths in. But as long as you are working to the best of your ability, and remember that it is only for a season, you're only going to receive lectures and stuff like that for a very, very short period of time. So don't feel like you're anything less because you didn't get a particular grade. You just need to see, okay, where did I go wrong? And you need to go all in and make sure that you don't make the same mistake again. But just remember that you are not defined by your grades. And in as much as you've probably heard this a gajillion times, and sometimes you may feel like you are defined by that number. It's really painful when you don't get a grade that you really worked for, and it really hurts. Like, as a math student, it hurts when you don't get a grade that you want. It sucks, but you just need to remember that that grade, that number does not define you. So you need to make sure that you work as hard as you can. Don't allow yourself to be under too much pressure. Don't allow yourself to burn out, because when you burn out, then your brain won't internalize anything as well. And just remember that there is always light at the end of the tunnel, and revision is just for a season. That's one thing I do as well to cope with it. I just tell myself revision is just for a season. I'll do as much as I can, and I'll make sure not to get too stressed, even though I still get stressed anyways. And with exam results, just remember that you can't change your results, but you just need to kind of calm yourself down and always remember that, whatever happens, happens. And it's better to study hard for exams, knowing that when you get the results, it won't matter what you get because you know that you worked hard. But just remember, you can't change the results, but what you can change is how you work in the future. So if you get your results and you don't like them, you just need to accept it for what it is. You can cry about it for a bit because you have to feel whatever you need to feel if you don't get the results that you want. But then don't allow it to define you. Don't let that pain define you and stop you from doing better in the future. So I hope this video helped you. I know it was a different kind of video, but I hope if you find yourself in some of these dilemmas that I mentioned today, that you kind of got more clarity in terms of how to deal with them, and I advised you to the best of my ability. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos. Stay safe, everyone. God bless you all. Bye!